Welcome to the SVA journey. Here we will quickly identify sales trends according to orders over the past 2 months. The drill down gives information needed to make actionable decisions on the product level. There are also video links on the report in case you need a quick refresher while using the software. They are located here under the legend, near icons, near the category filter, and on the SVA report itself. Additional important functionalities, such as the toolbar at the bottom of the screen with a download option, will be discussed in a future video. We'll start with the categories. Products are divided into categories according to sales velocity. Items with a high sales velocity are under the category of movers. On the default setting in QRE, the sales velocity is set at 10. This can be changed on the filter on the right, according to your company's needs. And you'll see that the items under the category of movers has changed. The next category is snails. These are items that have consistent order numbers over the 7-week period. However, the order numbers are less than what you've plugged in to the sales filter. The next category is pulsing. These are items that have inconsistent order numbers over the 7-week period, where some weeks there have been orders and some weeks there aren't. The next category is no sales. As the name suggests, these are items that have had no sales over the 7-week period. You can adjust the filters on the right under the categories filter. If you want to look only at the movers, then you click movers and those are the items that will pop up. If you want to isolate a category to look at it, you can do so on the filter settings on the right. If you want to look only at the movers, then go ahead and click. If you want to see items according to revenue, you can use the filter on the right called revenue. If you want to look at items at over a $5,000 revenue, plug in the number, and those are the items that will show up. By hovering over one of the numbers, and you will see next to the ASIN is the revenue over the 7-week period. All of the items will have a revenue of over $5,000 over the 7-week period because that's what we plugged in to our revenue filter. If you want to search for a particular product, go into the products filter on the right, click all, and then type in the item that you want to look at. If you want all the items to show up again, click all. Within the movers category, you'll notice that there are trend symbols of moons, arrows, and suns. These symbols indicate sales trends on the short and midterm, indicating an increase or decrease of order percentages. QRE is defaulted to a 15% difference in trends. The arrow trend indicates a difference of at least 15% of order numbers when comparing the average order numbers of week 1 to week 3, as well as the average of week 4 to week 7. If there is a difference of more than 15% between those two periods, that item will have either an upward arrow or a downward arrow. The moon and the sun symbol indicate a change of at least 15% in order numbers between weeks 1 and weeks 2. The moon indicates a downtrend of at least 15% from week 2 to week 1, while the sun indicates an increase of at least 15% comparing week 2 to week 1. You can change the percentage according to your needs here on the Trends filter. Here you can change the arrow percentage, let's say to 30, and the items that have had a change in sales velocity of at least 30% when comparing the averages of week 1 to week 3, as well as the averages between 4 to week 7 will show up. These items have all had a change in sales velocity of at least 30% when comparing the averages of week 1 to week 3 to week 4 to week 7. If we were to see a downward arrow, that would indicate a decrease of at least 30% of sales velocity in the midterm. If you want to see changes of the sun and moon symbols, that can also be changed. Let's change it also to 30%. This item has had a change of at least 30% when comparing the sales velocity from week 2 to week 1. The items with the sun symbol have all had an increase in sales velocity when comparing week 2 to week 1. You can change the weeks for the sun and moon trends. You can adjust the weeks of comparison for the sun and moon symbols over on the filter. Let's compare 2 change periods for the sun and moon. As no items with a sun or a moon symbol have shown up, let's change the filter back to 15%. Here, the moon has popped up. This means that these 2 items have all had a decrease of at least 15% when comparing 2 change periods, comparing week 3 to week 2 to week 1. Each week has had at least a 15% decrease in sales velocity. This video is the SVA drill down, where we will go into more detail onto how to use these reports. Let's start with the inventory. By hovering over one of the order numbers under one of the weeks, we can see the number of inventory sitting on the shelves in Amazon warehouses during that week. Here, I can see under Available, I have 87 items. FC Transfer are the items that are moving from warehouse to warehouse at different locations by Amazon. And the FBM warehouse is how many items the company itself has in its warehouses. If I want to see more details about inventory, I click on Inventory Details. Here, I can see that there's items being processed at the Amazon warehouse. Here, I can see that the company has informed Amazon of its intention to send 80 items. When those items have been shipped, they'll move into inbound shipping. And when they have been received, we'll see the 70 items move into inbound receiving. Here, I see that the order number is lower than it was during the other 7 weeks. If I want to see if that's an inventory issue, I hover over the 7, and I see that the item was well in stock. If you want to check an inventory issue going back, like we can see for this item, I hover over and I can see that there were items, yet no orders. If I go back another week, I can see the dates where the item was restocked over here. It appears that this item took about a week to regain traction and 4 order sales to pick up. You'll notice that the calendar date is 2 days behind the actual date. This is in tune with the data that QRE pulls from Amazon. Now let's take a journey through the buying funnel, ordered in the steps the potential buyer takes from visit to purchase, so we can see the information needed to make actionable decisions on the product level. In order to see key metrics pertinent to any particular item, hover over one of the weeks and we'll go and click on product details. This will take me to the SVA drill down on this particular item. Here, the information is categorized according to orders, the shopper funnel journey, which include visits and the success rate, cause and effect indicators, such as price and PPC, as well as the profitability of the item. Here, under orders, I can see that this item is categorized as a mover. That means this item is moving off the shelves of the Amazon warehouse at an average of more than 10 orders per week. By hovering on this dot, I can see the graph of the orders going back 7 weeks. The blue line is the number of orders made during that week, and the green line is the quantity. If someone bought 3 items, it would show up as 1 order, and the numbers on the green graph reflect the number of items sold. By hovering over the dot on the visits, I can see the breakdown of organic and PPC visits and the total number of visits, which is the top line. The green line reflects the organic visits, and the orange line at the bottom is the PPC visits. By hovering over the dot, we can see the success rate of this item, or in Amazon's language, the conversion rate. At QRE, we use the term success rate as it takes into account the number of visits it takes in order to successfully convert into a sale. Here we can see that this past week, it's taken on average 9 visits in order to convert to a sale. The item price shows how much the item is sold for on Amazon. You can see that this item does not have a price coupon, but if an item does, it will show up over here. The next line is the reviews and average rating that the item got during that particular week. Not every review is showed on your listing. However, if we do see that there were low ratings, like we can see over weeks 3 and week 7, it's worth checking the listing to see if that's influencing a customer's decision on whether to buy or not. The next section of the drill down addresses PPC. Here we see the number of displays, and by hovering over the dot, we can see it in a graph. This shows the number of times that the ad was displayed, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the potential customer saw it. It's a number that reflects the potential number of times that someone could have clicked into the listing. The number of clicks reflects the number of people who actually clicked on the sponsored ad. The CTR, or the click-through rate, divides the number of displays by the number of clicks and shows the rate at which people click into the sponsored ad. A good click-through rate would be about 1%. The higher the number, the higher the relevance of the ad. Next, we see the order alliance. The order alliance shows the percentage of orders coming through PPC. This week, the order alliance was 7%. That of the 43 orders this week, 3 of them came through PPC. Next is profitability. It's very important to note that the margin and the profit margin does not take into account PPC. The margin of this item is 15%. However, tacos was 2%. That means that this week, the margin on this item was 13%. The profit margin this week was 140. However, with an ad spend at 50, the true profit margin was 125. If you need a reminder about what you're looking at, wherever you see a small question mark, just hover and it'll explain what this item means. As well, there is the information bubble, which gives a more thorough explanation to the titles of this category. You can find it all here: the shopper funnel journey, the SVA drill down, as well as sessions. The default on Qari is set at 50. Any week with fewer than 50 visits will show up in red, indicating that there is a potential issue that needs to be further investigated. If there is a number of visits that is more appropriate to your company, feel free to change the number. If this were an item that I know regularly has thousands of visits, then changing it to a number such as 700 would be more relevant for this item. By changing it, I can see that the number of visits for all the weeks have now changed to red. If I want to take more of a bird's eye view of this item and compare how it's been doing the past 7 weeks to how it's been doing historically year after year, click on the zoom out. The zoom out takes you to a new page which shows engagement metrics, margin, and PPC. The legend on the right indicates which years we're looking at. Here we're looking at 2001 and 2002. Let's take a look at the engagement metrics. Let's look at July, which is the month showing the most recent data on this demo account. Here we can see the visits are down by a small number compared to last year. We can see that this July there were 1,546 visits, as opposed to last year, where there were 1,662 visits. However, this July there were more orders, 182 as opposed to 171 from last July. And here we see that the success rate this year was 8, whereas last year it was 10, meaning this July, this item was selling at a higher rate. So even though there are fewer visits, the item is more popular and more people are buying. Let's look at the margin. Here I can see that the margin is lower than it was last July. If cost of goods has increased or FBA fees increased, the margin will lower. However, please keep in mind that this number is before PPC. Let's now look at the metrics on PPC. The first graph shows the number of clicks that have come through PPC, the orange showing this year, and the blue showing last year's. The next graph shows the click-through rate. This reflects the percentage of people that clicked into the sponsored ad. This graph shows the PPC orders. Here I can see the number of orders on any given month from year to year. This shows the total advertising costs when taking into account both the PPC sales and the organic sales and dividing it by the ad spend. PPC Order Alliance shows the percentage of orders that came through PPC. Here we can see that this year in July, the Order Alliance was lower, meaning that more orders were coming through organic as opposed to last July, where it sat at 12%. If this item is a variation, you can click on this icon called the Variations dashboard. Here, I can select a variation. For example purposes, I'll choose the chalk. And then you can compare how both those items are doing. The legend will show which item is showing which colors. The comparisons will show the number of visits of both items, the order numbers, and the success rate on a month-to-month basis, going back 6 months. Variations aggregated shows the total number of visits for the items that I chose, as well as the total order numbers, going back 6 months. Sales orders mix shows me the percentage orders on both variations. Here, I can see that on a month-to-month basis, this item, which is the chalk, has gradually been increasing in popularity from month to month when compared to its variation. Now let's use this information to make an actionable decision on the product level. I've chosen this item, Sparkles 30 piece, where I can see that this week has the lowest number of orders compared to the 7-week period. As we can see, this item was doing a lot better in previous weeks, so the question is why? I see that this week, visits have gone down by 100. However, the success rate has not changed that significantly. It means that this item has not gone down in popularity. It's just an issue of being seen. Because it was seen less, there were fewer orders made. This is an item that's not very reliant on PPC. I can see that by the low number of clicks and the low order reliance. I see that this item has a healthy margin and a very low tacos. My next step would be to visit the listing on Amazon. If I visit the listing and see that the ranking has gone down, that would be an indicator that perhaps a PPC would be the correct decision. The margin gives me some wiggle room, and I can see that this item has a good click-through rate. By checking which keywords are the most successful, I could increase the bid with the goal of increasing exposure and thereby replicating the success rate that I've had. Once you've made a decision, you can log it into the decision tracker. We'll discuss the decision tracker in an upcoming video.